What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Ruben and Jessie podcast. As always, I am Jessie.
And I'm Ruben.
And we are back again with another chit chat. And if this is your first time, this will definitely not be your last. What is going on, my man, Ruben?
Just came back from my run, yo. I was originally supposed to do 7 miles, but like the day just got super busy. I was just like, you know what? I don't have time to do 4 miles. I have to fucking run home. But yeah, how's your day going?
My day is going pretty good. I played some basketball with my pops today. Whooped his ass. He beat me once.
Does that count as one of your 75 hards?
Yeah, exactly. So speaking of that,
What's going on with that? Some people may know, some people may not.
exactly.
What's 75
It's
hard?
it's been funny though, because people have actually been following the stories and they're mad at me for doing this. But not like actually mad, more like, like, oh, I can't even do one, but one workout a day, you do it too. Yeah, motherfucker, I am doing two.
I'm
I'm
sure
better.
that it's funny because you say that like our guest this morning actually said that as well. So like
Yeah,
not only have like people like me and Karina have been thinking about it, like yeah, Jesse's doing 2 workouts a day. And it's just like, God damn, like we only do one. And we try to squeeze it into a busy day, and you're like, you gotta do two 45 minutes. Like sometimes you only get away with 30, you know?
yeah, man, well, all right, so let's start from the top. Honestly, it began because the seed was planted because you did the 4x48, the 4x4x48 challenge. The seed was planted because I was like, this motherfucker thinks he could do challenges.
This
I
is
could
why
do them
good.
too,
This is why friendships are needed,
Yes.
so that you can be like, I did this, and then you like, I gotta step up. I gotta level up.
How can I take this? How can I take this and run with it? So at first it was just an idea in my head. And then our buddy Eric, Eric,
Mhm.
uh, maybe we can have him on once because he's doing it too right now.
Yeah.
Maybe we can have him on once I finish and we could talk about it. But basically, me and Eric were having a conversation, and he brought up that he was doing this thing called the 75 hard challenge, and I did not know what it was, but that sounded so cool. Like 75 hard, like what does that mean? And so I started Googling it. I didn't even ask him. Like I asked him later, but I immediately just started looking into it. And it was Andy Frisella, who I admire and think he's a badass motherfucker. Uh, I don't really even know. I still don't even know what he does. I think he owns First Form. Is that what it is?
I heard
Or
that's like a supplement company, right?
yeah, I think so. I could be wrong. If you're an Andy Frisella fan, please don't hurt me. After this episode, I will look up who and what he actually does. But I admire him because of his energy and his just like just raw action type of person guy, who we've talked about plenty of those guys on this show before. And so I started looking into it. And what's funny too, and this has been happening recently more often, where my intuition is starting to kick in harder and harder, where I was already thinking, I was like, because I have been doing mainly calisthenics these last few months that has shown like great results for me. And I was already thinking like, yo, should I start doing 2-a-days? Because like do one calisthenics workout and then do one like with the kettlebells that I have in my room. And I was already kind of thinking about it. And then when I saw the rules, and the rules were the rules of the 75 hard challenge is 2 45-minute workouts a day. One, it has to be outside, which also I was like, that's great because I have a bad habit of not going outside every day. Like most days I do go outside, but not every day. Some days I'll just like, or like I'll go outside for like 10 minutes and like I definitely should be outside longer than like even like people in prison spend more time outside every day than I do, right? Like I'm like if you really think about it, right? They have an hour outside. And I'd be out there for like 10 minutes, 20 minutes, like max. And so it's probably not a good thing to do, right? And so I so 2 45-minute workouts, one is outside, no drugs, no alcohol, which is not a problem. It's not really something I participate with in and 10 pages of reading a day, which is like that's not a problem. 1 gallon of water a day, which I was like, that's gonna be a challenge because I'm gonna forget, I'm gonna forget to drink water. And yeah, 10 pages of reading a day. And I believe that's it. Let me just make sure. So I'm not lying.
Well, it's already a lot. I mean, how do you gauge 1 gallon?
Yeah, here we go. Here we go. 2 45-minute workouts a day. One workout must be outdoors. Follow a diet. So follow it has to be a clean, healthy diet, which was also like, it wasn't a super challenge, but I was like, oh, like every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks, I'll go out and have like a meat, like I'll have like a cheat meal, or like every other week, if I'm out to dinner, like I'll get dessert, right? And it's like, just that extra 5% of like, nah, for 75 days, you can't have any of that,
Yeah.
and then take a progress pic every day. Which reminds me, I have to take one today. So that is the challenge every day. And once I heard the podcast, it totally aligned with me when Andy Frisell talks about the 75 hard challenge, because he basically said it as in it's a great reset. Like it's a really great reset to harden your mind again. And well, he was really speaking mainly to people who've never done it. And I can only imagine, like, to someone who's never done any of these things and they're doing this challenge, like that is another level, bro. Like that is a real challenge. For me, I see it as like a great reset. Like I see it as like a just tuning everything up to make sure that I'm on point. And it has been that, bro, because any day that I'm not being mindful of my time, because all these things require time. Like you have to be mindful of when you're drinking water. You have to be mindful of when you're working out indoors or outdoors. You have to be mindful of when you're reading your book, all of these things. And what it's done is that, like, any day that I am not being mindful of those things, I pay the price in the evening. I really pay the price in the evening because, like I was telling you off air, I'd have to drink so I drink, if you're watching this on YouTube, I drink out of this flask.
About 32 ounces?
It's 21 ounces. So I drink 6 of these a day to get to a gallon of water. And there have been nights where I've chugged like 2 of these before bed because I had to get them in. Otherwise, I would have had to start all over. And so, yes, I was waking up in the middle of the night to take a piss multiple times, So like or like I've left my house at 10 o'clock at night to go for a 45-minute walk because I did not go outside earlier in the day. I've had to do that. Or I'd be sore out of my mind and like I'd have to go get a workout at it, and staying up late, like if I'm going out or if I'm meeting with friends, like I have to think about it now because I'm like, okay, if I do that, I'm going to have to pay for that tomorrow when I still have to. I can't just choose, oh, I didn't get enough rest last night. Today's going to be an off day. It's like, no, there is no off day. So I'm on day 11 now. And it's starting to creep in as far as I'm actually not really like, I don't really think about it. I kind of just, because I
Yeah.
can't believe it's already day 11, but I'm like, wow, 75 days. Like I've really only just begun. You know what I mean? Like I have 64 more days. So what does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what it means, but it's definitely been an interesting experience.
Well, if you think about, I mean, and we've talked about it here before, like the Iron Cowboy when he did 50 Ironman triathlons across the America, he got stronger as he was in
Mhm.
the midst of it. I think it was like by a month in, the doctor was astounded because they're like, actually, he's not getting weaker, he's getting stronger as he's continuing every single day doing an Ironman. So I'm pretty sure you're gonna hit that threshold where your body is just like, oh, we just need to level up, you know?
Well,
So,
I will say like my strength is improving,
right.
like, and the other thing, I actually will agree with that, because what it's made me realize even in this short period of time is like how much we under we overvalue how we train, how we think we train, right?
Right.
Because you're even saying like we get in these 30-minute sessions, and I like this has really shifted my paradigm in thinking like, nah, bro, like that's fine if, and I was doing the same thing. I was maybe training like 45 minutes every other day, right? Or 2 days on, 1 day off. I was training like a 45-minute session. And what it's made me realize is how little I actually move in my day,
Mm,
right? Because like outside of the 45 minutes, unless I'm going for another 45 minute, if I'm going for like another 20-30 minute walk, I'm
right.
really just sitting or standing on my laptop. Meanwhile, if you think about our ancestors, like they were always moving.
Always.
Everything required movement.
Unless they were sleeping or eating, folks. If they were sleeping or eating, they were still. But aside from that, they were always doing something.
I was doing something. And so, and even when they were like resting, it's not like they like pulled up a chair or pulled up a couch,
They
like
were
they were on the ground.
positioning, laying down. Yep, yep. Aaron
And
Alexander talks about this in the Align method.
exactly. And so that's what I've realized is like, nah, bro, you get to move way more in your day now. And fuck this, like I've starting to feel more aligned. And then this is not true for everyone, you know, like everyone's in a different place in their journey. And if you, especially if you're just starting out in your fitness journey, like, yeah, take those rest days, because any movement you do is a lot of movement for you if you haven't done it before.
Mhm.
But we're talking about years of exercise here, years of training. And so um, for me, I'm starting to feel like even after the 75 hard challenge, I I feel like I'm going to want to continue having multiple training sessions every day, because even like what I found is that if I'm tired and I go train, I actually feel better and more focused on work.
Right.
Uh, um, uh, and what I'm noticing is the biggest factor is quality of sleep. Like if I can get my sleep in, I don't need a rest day, bro. If I can get my sleep in, everything feels so much better.
And I think
And
managing your stress. Well, sorry.
no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was gonna say managing your stress because I think what I learned when I was in, going to school for holistic nutrition, they're like, yo, stress plays a big factor. Like if you working out is a stressor, like if you had a crazy day at work and you decide to work out, like you better like recover in other ways, whether that is relaxing in an Epsom salt bath at night or going to a sauna if you're lucky enough to have one, or making sure you have the proper foods inside your body to make sure you're healing and then getting that restful night of sleep. And
Mhm,
I don't know if you listen to Andrew Huberman's podcast. I think it's called Huberman Lab.
mhm.
He talks
I
about,
didn't know if you had a podcast. I gotta
yeah,
check that
man,
out.
I've been listening to it. Like you want science, neuroscience stuff. It's fascinating stuff because he talks about sleep. He has one whole 2-hour podcast on sleep.
Mm,
And he's like, you necessarily can go without 8 hours of sleep for a long period of time, as long as you get in your 90-minute blocks. And if you absolutely need to in the middle of the day, you take your nap. Like, you don't even need to fall asleep to take that nap. It's just a matter of not doing anything, giving your brain a rest. You're fine. Like, you can go the day. And he basically said it. There's some people, not everyone, folks, like experimentation is your best friend, but there's some people who could just, when I was on the David Goggins challenge, for instance, yes, I was tired, but I've done so many nights where I can stay awake or like sleep on 2 or 3 hours and still like go out the next day and do my thing. I could do that because I practiced a lot for like 2, 3 years. I was doing that on a consistent basis. But if you're not used to that and you just get exhausted and fall asleep, like maybe that's, you don't have the, I think he says it's like a genetic, it's a genetic thing. Like, you have it or you don't. Like, so maybe you have something like that, dude, that you don't need a rest day. I mean, look at Cam Hanes. That dude runs every single day. And he doesn't need a recovery day. Like, he just goes at it every single day. And he calls it elk ready or something like that.
Yeah.
Hunting. And I think maybe that's something that you can have. Like, where you're just like, I don't need a rest day. I can work out every day and be fine. But that can also be genetic.
Well, the other thing that's been really interesting, and I would love to get like a professional on here
Mm-hmm.
to break down the possible science behind this,
Right.
which is I've never seen better results until I started taking calisthenics seriously. Like training after we had that episode with Nico, and I started following his programming. Like, dude, it's in all ways, like my strength, my stability, my core, like my just aesthetics, like everything has been evolving. And it doesn't make any fucking sense to me because and maybe I just sound like a noob. Like, maybe I'll say this and someone who knows what the fuck is happening is like, oh yeah, of course. But to me, it doesn't make any sense because it's, I was sort of taught this model of like, okay, you need it. Like, if you want to build muscle mass, if you want to build strength, if you want to build muscle, you have to do hypertrophy training, which is like, 5 exercises, 4 sets per exercise, 8 to 12 reps, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was taught. And I've done that, I've done that and it's worked. It has worked. And the only way I can potentially explain why this is working is novelty. Like, just the fact that I haven't trained like this ever in my life. I've never pushed my muscles in this way before, where they're doing like so many reps. Like, they've never done these many reps, especially when I started doing this, my hands would just shake. My hands would just shake like this because my nervous system was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, we don't do this. And even now, still, my forearms will shake. Different parts of my body will act up because they're just not used to this amount of volume, this amount of training. And so it doesn't make any sense to me, but so the point I was kind of getting at was, I also think that, like I said, we overvalue our fitness schedule, because we have way more in us than we think. And that also comes with that. This is another part, like, so outside of the 2 45-minute workouts, I've also had to increase the time I spend in mobility, flexibility, opening up my joints, opening up my hips, doing all those things because, the aches and pains will come on if I don't, take that very seriously. So that's been its own experience as well. But the point I was trying to say before, which is, I think because I'm not in the gym lifting heavy weight, and I'm doing either like the calisthenics workouts, or I'm doing like some kettlebell training, like functional movement patterns and stuff like that. So they're not like killer workouts. Like, I'm not, except maybe the calisthenic one can be killer. But then the other one's kind of more just like a movement, right? It's just getting the blood pumping. I feel as if like in those scenarios to just take 45 minutes of your day, and even if you got like a 25-pound kettlebell, right? And you can have your workout, like you can have your workout that's like your workout. That like this is my fucking, I'm going to Sparta right now. But you can have another one that's more just like zone two, sort of just like going through the motions, picking up a weight, throwing it around, you know, maybe doing some animal flow, like doing something that just gets the body moving for an hour.
Right.
So you just get more movement in your day, you know?
And you know, it's funny, like at that gym that I'm going to right now, they do this thing. Maybe it's from CrossFit because I know they mix a little bit of CrossFit with like a functional movement. And they do this thing. It's like 6 weeks, and then they do a week deload
Mhm.
week, and then they do 6 week. And all the programming is completely different every 6 weeks. So you're really like working out specific muscle groups, doing very similar exercises, specific days of the week for 6 weeks, and then they have that deload week where you're just doing mostly functional animal flow movements, yoga, they call it floga, um, and all these other things. And then the next week, they completely shift the entire work. So like it's never the same. Like maybe you might see the same workout in one particular, but that hour you have with that training session, maybe you'll see the same workout, whether that's like what's the workout with the ball where you're going to
I mean, like
squat.
same exercise.
Yeah, like you might do something the same, but it'll be different. Everything else will be different that day. Like maybe you saw it last time, but it's like somewhere else. So it's like tricking your body because your body is so adaptable, and it is a beautiful machine that was built. Like, you know, we're not gonna get there, but right now, but it's a whole nother podcast. But like whatever, this body that was built is so adaptable. It's both our like it's such a strength of ours, but also like if you keep it the same, it gets, it's gonna get bored. Is a word I was trying to find, but I can't think of it right now. Like it just becomes content, and it's like, oh, I need to throw something different in there. Like, I mean, it's similar to when you're picking up a weight and then it gets too light after a few weeks. Well, you need to step up in weight. You know what I mean? I was doing when I went last Friday, I never had done like that CrossFit move where it's like you just snatch with the bar
Yeah.
and then you lift like that.
Oh, that's a clean and jerk.
Clean and jerk. I've never done that with a bar. I've done that with kettlebells. I could throw a 44-pound kettlebell around now easy. I remember when I first got that shit was hard. But the bar is a different ball game. You have to
Mhm.
use so many different pieces compared to a kettlebell because it's a full bar.
That
So
shit's fun though, no?
it is fun, but it
Yeah.
took me a long time to get used to it. Like the coach was standing there and just like correcting me. And you think like you've been doing this for so long, we've been working out for years. And it's just like I couldn't even put weight on it. I've seen other people that don't even have the same aesthetics as me. I'm just like, how are they putting weights on it? But they've done it before, like they get the movement, so they got it. And meanwhile, I'm struggling because I don't do this. It's my first time doing this, and probably since I don't even remember the last time actually. And I did it, and they were like correcting me over and over again. Like, oh, you need to hold your core here. Oh, you squatted too low. You need to squat until you feel this. And like, there's so many pieces to working out. And it's like, at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say, folks, is that you do not have to make it complicated. Something that you're bringing up a good point. Like, move throughout your day. And what I love about what I learned from Aaron Alexander was like create instances throughout your day when you're cooking, when you're in your room sitting, watching TV, even while you're watching TV, he's like, hey, don't get a couch, floor culture, sit on the floor, squat, move around, lay down. Like that's what our ancestors did. I love to have my bar up. I have it up. Every time I go to the bathroom and leave the bathroom, I hang on it. I pop a few pull-ups on it. I just incorporate it throughout my day. I don't have a chair. I have a one of those exercise balls, and I'm just constantly holding myself together using my hips. So my core is constantly engaged throughout the day when I sit. And this is what I tell people when I'm like working with someone or I'm like coaching one of my students, and they're like, "Oh, I feel so tired throughout the day." I was like, "Have you gotten sun? Have you moved today? Have you just been sitting in front of your computer all day?" And they're like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Well, there you go." you know.
Yeah.
Um, so I love that you're bringing this, and I think the 45 minutes twice a day really, I mean, gives you like, oh, I can look at this differently. Like, I don't have to go to the gym and lift heavy weights. I just have to move my body. Move
Yeah,
my body.
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, man. Um, yeah, and also, part of it has been something that I can finally confidently say I've built a practice around, because I would say for years I've tried to do this and I failed. And this is just a show of like, everyone has a journey, man, is meditation. Like my meditation practice for years, I would pick one up, drop it, pick one up, drop it, pick one up, right? It lasts for a few weeks, if that, right? If that, it lasts for a few weeks and then be gone. And I'd say these last 3 to 4 months, I've had I'd say like the last 3 months, I've had a consistent every day I'm doing meditation in the morning. And then this last week, I started implementing it at night too, before going to bed. Because I got up to doing 15 minutes in the morning, and now I've started doing another 15 at night. And I want to do another, and then the next goal would be to do 15 in the middle of the day. Um, and then like just constantly plug in more times throughout the day where I'm doing that. And that has been a game changer as well, because the act of silence, is magnificent.
mhm.
Um, and you
Intentional silence.
don't go ahead.
Intentional silence, right?
Yeah, intentional silence. And like, I think similar to the moving throughout the day, it's like if you only see the difference when you've done it for a long time. And long can be relative, but like long meaning like let's say 30 days, right? Like if you've done it for 30, 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, and you have this practice every day, and it's just 15 minutes, and you may feel like, what is the point of this 15 minutes, right? When you're first doing it. Um, but then once you actually don't not do it for a day, you immediately feel the difference. You immediately feel like, oh, I'm not centered. Oh, I'm not like present. I'm not relaxed. Um, my focus is gone, or like I'm worrying about something. Um, and it just makes me think about, like you said, like what Aaron Alexander said about just finding movement throughout the day. It's like, what are some of those other practices that if you just like instill them in bits and pieces throughout your day, instead of, because I think so much in our wellness culture, it's like um these things are sort of segmented,
Right.
right? Like, this is when you pick this block of time to move your body. You
Hmm.
pick this block of time to be still. You pick this block of time to work. You pick this block of time to sleep. And I mean, at the eight, that might actually really work for people. But I'm starting to be curious about like, how do I create more fluidity in what these things mean to me
Hmm.
versus like what I've been taught, right? Like, there's what I've been taught, which has merit and has science and is great. But I'm also like, okay, what else has merit and science that I haven't been taught yet? And
Right.
how does it oppose what I've already learned, and what can I learn from that experience as well?
Right. And it's like, I mean, I think of it as like recently I did Dominic Cortucci. He's been on the podcast, folks. We mentioned his name several times, but I did his 15 days of like five. It was like 5 5 5. It was always like 5 minute breath work, 5 minute into a 5 minute meditation, into 5 minute journaling. It was great. So I kept that. I was like 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes. But I don't beat myself. Since we finished, like I think we finished on Monday actually. I haven't done the meditation every single day, but I don't beat myself up over it. Like it's totally fine. Like some mornings I wake up and I'm like, okay, I want to stretch. I want to do a long stretch because yesterday was a hard day or whatever. I worked out, I killed myself. Like, cool, let's do some stretching and then I'll read. So I'll read like something spiritual. I've been getting into the spiritual stuff. If you're looking, reading
Okay.
some Hermetic philosophy at the moment. Stuff is pretty wild, but
Yeah.
Like I'm reading more spiritual text in the morning, and then at night I have, I read everything else. Whether that's a psychology book, I'm reading a history book before turning. I'm about to finish it. So it's just like, oh, I want to implement 2 readings a day, like instead of one, because that's my thing. Like I love, to me, that's like a meditation. I can like sit, I'll read a page, I'll sit, I'll contemplate on that idea for a moment, and I go back into it. And I don't have, I remember back in the day, and you probably agree with this. Like, remember, like we would have like, I need to read 30 pages. I need to
Mhm.
work out for an hour. I need to meditate for 30 minutes. And it was just, to me, that was like, if anything, I created more stress. Because like, how
Mhm.
do I fit that in a day when it's busy? Like I felt like today, for instance, I was like, we had the podcast this morning. I had errands to run, and then we shooting this. I have another podcast after this. I was like, oh shit, like I wanted to do 8 miles today running, but that's gonna take me an hour and 10, maybe. Right? I was just like, it's just not gonna fit. It's just not. So I have to be okay with getting it down. But I did it. I did something. And I'll probably pop a few stretches at night before I go to bed, to get a little additional movement. But you have to be okay. And I think you can't get there until you've already done the habit building. Like we've been doing
Mhm.
for years, I think. And that's where I think people get it wrong. They go to somebody who's already built it over years, that this is their profession, and then they're like, oh, so it's okay if I stop too. And it's like,
Mhm.
have you built a habit though, where
Yeah.
if you miss a day, you actually feel it. I
Mhm.
know, I'm sure you feel the same. When
Yeah.
you miss a day of working out, it's just like, I feel weird, you know? And you bring it back the next day. But it's like you don't beat yourself up over it. Like allow yourself to miss that day, go into the next day and do it then. Like it's cool. You had a busy day, something came up, maybe you just needed a recovery, you needed to get into your yin for
Mhm.
the
Mhm.
week. But I think like I'm curious to see like 75-day Jessie of this 75 hard, what that's going to look like for you mentally, physically, because I'm sure that you're going to see a
Bro.
huge difference. Like, like how I'm curious to see how all that is going to take effect for you, because this is way different than just 2 days of running that I did. Like this is a long process.
Yeah, it's like they're kind of two different types of extremes. Like you
Right.
had the extreme of like go hard and just fuck your mind for
2 days.
like two days, which probably felt like 75 days because of the it was like a hot bang, right? It was a hot flash bang experience versus mine is like this slow candle wax burn. That's
Right.
just like we're just gonna keep we're gonna keep the iron hot for fucking 75 days. It's not gonna explode. The iron's not gonna burn, but we're just gonna keep it hot. We're just gonna keep that shit hot for 75 days. Um, I mean, yeah, dude, it's just, I love it. I love the experience so far. It keeps me on my toes. It keeps me accountable because there are days where I'm like, fuck this shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, I am tired. I'm sleepy. Or I'll be procrastinating and I'm like, yo, if you don't get up and do this now, it's
Right.
going to be 10 o'clock and you're going to do this and you're going to fucking hate yourself. Because I'm already 11, 12 days in. I'm not trying to start it over. I'm already deep. I'm deep into it. So I'm not trying to do it over again. So yeah, man. But it's been fun. I invite, anyone who's listening, if you're still listening, like join me on this end. I have a few friends who have joined me on it, um, which is super exciting as well. Um, and they're saying similar things, it's just like it's cracking that whip and putting them, making them focus on certain aspects of their life. Um, and I've also noticed there's like a level of there is a level of having to take a sense of self-respect
Right.
because if you have if you have people in your life who want you to do certain things or go out or do this or do that, it's like you can do that, but do you also respect yourself enough to know where your boundaries are, right? Like, how long can you stay out? Can you actually go? Would it make sense for you to go? What is the point of doing that? Or like, can you say that you're not drinking? Can you say that you're not doing drugs? Can you say this? Can you say that? Or will it tempt you too hard? That type of thing.
Right. I mean, you went out last night and people were drinking, correct? So
Yeah, exactly.
how do you I think this is for most people because when you're in a social setting like that's so easy to be like, hey, just come and
I
take.
mean, you know me, I'm sort of an anomaly in the fact that like
Yeah.
I don't even enjoy drinking. Like it's not an experience for me that I like. So I guess I'm lucky with that. But like you can say that about food. Like I love tasty shit, I love tasty shit. And you know what I found, honestly? Here's the thing. And I don't understand. I mean, I guess I can, if I really took a fucking half a second to think about it, I'm sure I could come up with a reason.
Mhm.
But what I found is if you go, let's say they're talking about like eating pizza, for example, right? If you go, I'm like, I don't eat pizza, right? If you go like, I don't eat that stuff, I don't eat pizza, people will get upset. Like I've
Yeah.
noticed that people will get upset. Like, what do you mean you don't eat
Right.
pizza? What do you mean, blah, blah, blah. But if I go, oh, I'm doing a challenge right now, like I'm doing the 75-day challenge where I'm not doing XYZ, they're way quicker to be like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, that's fucking fascinating to me.
Right.
And the only thing that comes to my mind as to why is because if I say I don't eat pizza, I'm saying I'm fundamentally a different person than you. If I
Mm.
go, I'm doing a challenge, that means no, you love pizza, but you're just doing this thing for right now. So me and you are still on the same page.
Right.
But
But how can you do that when you're not doing a challenge? Like, how does it?
that's what I mean. But I think I'm more just fascinated at the psychology of it. Is like, why is it more comfortable if I'm doing a challenge versus if I'm just like, hey, in my life, I don't do these certain things. So I might just always say I'm doing the 75 hard challenge. So people leave me the fuck alone.
Or you can just be that person that's like you go out to eat and you're the one that orders. It's like the only person who eats a vegan amongst their friends or a keto person amongst their friends. They go out to eat and they have to like go to the waiter and just be like, "Hey, I'm following a particular diet and I need to find out what's in this."
Mm.
Nowadays, like if you're vegan, it's gonna be easy for you to find something. But if you're keto, if you're carnivore, Jesus, like it might be a little more challenging for you because you're like, what do you cook the oil? What do you
Yeah.
cook the thing in? Like, you gotta ask like really deep. What seasonings you put it on? So I love like you gotta be very wary and do your research prior. And it's definitely a little challenging to be social. I mean, with COVID, you weren't social anyway, so it was like easier to do these things. But now that things are gonna start opening up, things are gonna start moving. Like these are things that folks are gonna have to think about. And I mean, I'm speaking for myself. Like, me and Karina going out, and I'm just like, if we meet new people, they're gonna, oh, I don't drink. Why? I'm doing a Spartan race in a few months. I'm training for that. I can't, that's just gonna ruin my training. So I can use that as an excuse until the September. But what about after that? Like I'm training for an Ironman in 3 years.
75 hard challenge, 75 days goes by. Nah, 75 hard challenge.
Doing
Still,
it
still on
again.
it. Still on it. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So,
So
well,
that,
shit, dude.
yeah.
Anything else you want to share with the people?
Not well, I'm gonna be on mutual. Well, you know him much more than I do. Daniel's
Mm.
podcast,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
go ahead and shoot, folks. So if you following on Insta, I don't know when it's gonna be released, but definitely check out his podcast. I think it's called Principles of Life, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
Principles of
Jesse,
Life.
you was on it,
I
so
was on it. We'll link to,
let's link
we'll,
it.
we'll link it. We'll link it in the show notes. And then next time we'll link Ruben's episode as well.
Yeah, so I'm about to go head off and do that. What you're about to get into, Jesse? Your second
Welcome to
workout of
workout
the
number 2.
day? Yep.
So that's what I'm about to go do now. Do some stretching, do a little bit of movement, have myself a little bit of a chuck roast,
Mm,
and then go on with my day. Get ready for bed soon because I am tired.
I hope, man.
Oh,
Like a good evening for you.
that's right. That's right, Playboy.
Well, that's your episode for today. Until
Yeah.
2 weeks from now, you hear from us. But
Yes, but we'll always, every week, we have a new episode no matter what. So always be sure to tune in. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in as you do. We love you. We love you. We love you. Thank you. Have a great day, evening, night. Hit us up if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you later.
all right. See y'all later, folks.
Peace.